Hey guys, it's Yorkie here and welcome to the channel for another Track Racer video where today we are going to be using the Track Racer TR80 cockpit that I am sat in here to demonstrate a pretty ideal GT style seating position. Obviously this video should be some interest to you if you've already got yourself a rig, but if you are in the market of potentially purchasing a rig in the near future, then this should be of some interest to you as well. What I shall also do is down in the description below is leave a couple of links to the Track Racer UK and EU stores. If you do click on one of those links and then end up purchasing one of their products through that link, I will get a small commission from that, and obviously that would be very much appreciated. I'll be very thankful for the support with that. But feel free to go take a look, consider Track Racer as one of the possible rig options, as they've got a whole bunch of products there on their websites. So as mentioned, the style of seating position that we're going to be talking about here is going to be the GT style seating position. The main reasons for that is obviously this Track Racer TR80 rig is perfectly designed and suited to that position. It's going to be the most common seating position that you'll find being offered by various different sim rigs on the market. It's probably the most versatile when it comes to using various different accessories such as a H shifter or a handbrake. It's going to be much easier to use those accessories, and it's also probably going to be the most comfortable seating position for you, especially if you do spend quite a bit of time actually sat in the rig itself and spending a lot of time driving. So let's actually talk about the various different aspects of the GT style seating position, and let's actually start off with the seat itself. As you can see, I've got the seat with quite a bit of a recline here. This is actually the maximum that this seat is going to recline to. I've got the screw here mounted into the highest position that it will possibly go to, and then this bottom screw here is down in the lowest bracket or lowest position that it will possibly allow. That's allowing this maximum amount of recline that I've got here. You kind of want the seat in to be kind of no more reclined than this, if not more upright, not completely upright, but what you want is support from your lower back right at the base all the way through up to between your shoulders and up to basically the base of your neck. If you're having that contact between your back, your spine and the actual seat itself, it's going to be nicely supported. You're not going to be putting your back muscles through any strain, kind of holding you in any position or anything like that. That's obviously going to create an awful lot of fatigue and cause backache if you're doing it for extended periods of time. Obviously, if you need to use lumbar support, do so. Obviously, what you want to be doing is looking after your back as much as possible, but when you're in this relaxed seating position, there should be contact all the way through. It should be nicely supported. Between your base of your neck back here and your shoulders, there should be an inch or two there, just to give you plenty of room so that when you're actually steering and turning the wheel, that your shoulders aren't getting interfered with the actual seat itself. As you can see, there's quite a bit of bolstering here on this rally style seat, not quite as much as the GT style seat that Track Racer offers. That's a lot more actually wrapping up around the side of your head here. But basically, when I'm in this position, there's a nice bit of room there so that when I'm turning the wheel, my shoulders aren't knocking against the seat. It's not interfering with the range of motion, and it's not distracting me from the actual driving itself. Now, when it comes to the base cushion of the seat, what you want is something that's not going to interfere with you pressing all the way down on the actual pedals. Well, obviously what you want is some support underneath the thighs, but if it's extending out too far, it's going to prevent the range of motion going through your legs and pushing down on your pedals. It's also then going to actually require you a little bit more force to actually hold your right foot down on the throttle, which is obviously going to be where you're going to be spending the majority of your time, obviously accelerating down the straights. So when you've got your foot in this position, obviously you don't want to be pushing down through the cushion in order to actually press the throttle 100%, because obviously you're then going to be exerting a lot more force through your muscles. You're going to be engaging your muscles a lot more, which is going to wear them out and fatigue them quicker. So obviously have that support underneath the thighs, but don't have so much so that it's interfering with the range of motion. Trying to lift my leg up there so you can see it on the other side when I'm actually pressing down on the brake. So yeah, try and have something that is comfy, got a slight recline on it, that provides plenty of support from the base of your back all the way up to your shoulders and the bottom of the neck, but then has a little bit of room so you're not having any interference when actually steering, and likewise with the cushion on the base of the seat, that there's plenty of support there, but it's not extending too close up towards the knee that is preventing you from actually depressing the pedals down without heavily engaging your muscles and having to push through the cushion and exerting yourself that way. So the next aspect that we're going to be talking about is going to be the wheel and the wheelbase. We're going to be talking about the height position, how far it is away from you, and then also the angle and the tilt. What I've got here with this setup is pretty much ideal for me. Ideally, what you want in terms of your tilt is it to be roughly pointing towards your shoulders. So if you were to imagine drawing a line coming through the steering column and out of the wheel rim, that is pointing to roughly your shoulders in and around this area. Basically what that will mean is as you're turning the wheel, you're not having to put any additional stress or strain through your wrists in order to turn the wheel appropriately. So if you get that angled right, you'll be doing yourself a bit of a favor there. And then it's just going to be a case of getting the height and also the distance away from your body to be correct. Generally, what you want in terms of height is that when you've turned the wheel through 90 odd degrees, that the top of the wheel is going to be roughly in line with your shoulders. You can probably see that it's slightly higher than my shoulders where the top of the wheel is currently sat here, but I'm not feeling any additional stress having driven through 2.5 hours of straight driving. When driving in that position, obviously if it's a little bit too high, then you're going to be raising your shoulders up a little bit. You're going to be a lot more tensed up around your upper back. So trying to get that wheel position is obviously going to be key to minimizing fatigue there. So that's generally how you tend to find the wheel height, is making sure that the top of the steering wheel and where your hand is kind of roughly in line with your shoulders, if not slightly higher where it is here, but not too much, or slightly below. There's not going to be any stress there. And then when it comes to distance, generally what you should be doing is when you put your arms up on top of the wheel and resting your arm up at the top like this with a slight bend in your elbow, you should be having the top of the wheel rim resting somewhere between the halfway point of your forearm and your wrist. If you do that, when you're holding the wheel in the 3 and 9 position, what you'll get is a nice bend coming through your arm here, and this should be somewhere between the region of 90 and 120 degrees. Obviously, if you've got the wheel too close to you, you're going to be scrunched up a little bit more. Probably what you also find is when I'm kind of doing this here, pretending to hold a wheel in front of me, my elbows and the back of my arms here are actually making contact with the side of the seat. So when I'm steering through the range of motion, my elbows are obviously going to be knocking into the sides of the seat, which is obviously going to be very distracting. If I then put my arms out to kind of avoid that and keep it in that same position, you're limiting your range of motion a lot more unless you start to actually lean over in the direction that you're steering, and obviously that's not going to be ideal because then you start using the back muscles and you're putting more wear and fatigue through those. So what you should be is in a nice relaxed seating position, nice 90 to 120 degrees bend in your arm there, and you should be able to rotate and turn the wheel through 180, 120 odd degrees without taking either of your hands off of the wheel, not be knocking into the sides of the seat or anything like that, or knocking into the side of your own body. All you should be doing is, as you're kind of crossing your arms, obviously you'll get to a point where your two arms end up making contact with each other. That's the point that you're going to need to start to take one hand off of the wheel in order to basically compensate and continue steering in that direction if you need to. The only time you should be doing that is either in a very, very tight hairpin at extremely slow speed, or if you've got an absolute ton of opposite lock on and you're trying to save the car. But if you keep your hands fixated in that 3 and 9 position, that's obviously then going to give you better reference for catching any slides on the car and basically turning the wheel. It's going to give you better control, so then obviously going to allow you to utilize the flappy paddles and make sure that you can change gear when you need to through the mid corner. If you start sliding your hands around the wheel and moving and manipulating them, you can get lost as to actually how much steering rotation you've ended up putting through. So keeping that reference point of having your hands in that 3 and 9 position is obviously going to be ideal. Obviously, that's applicable to circular rims. If you've got a more Formula style or LMP or modern day GT style rim, your hands are basically forced into that position anyway. There's not really any additional places to grab around the wheel other than the handles either side. So that is obviously going to be the most ideal position there in terms of holding the steering wheel. Next up is going to be the monitor position, and this is going to be pretty crucial in terms of trying to minimize the strain on the back of your neck and also generally your eyes as well. What you want to be doing ideally is trying to get the monitor as close to you as you possibly can. You can get the monitor nice and close, that will allow you to open up the field of view. If you've got the monitor sat further away from you, especially with a smaller screen, you're obviously then going to put those measurements into a FOV calculator, and you're going to come out with a much lower field of view than probably you would desire to basically get the correct field of view that you should be driving with. You can bring the monitor as close to you as you possibly can. It's going to allow you to open up the field of view a little bit more. What you can do with some wheelbases is actually put the monitor between the wheelbase and the actual wheel rim. Obviously, if you've got a direct drive wheel, some of the Fanatec bases and things like that, you can get extensions between the actual wheelbase to the wheel rim itself. That obviously then facilitates that option to slide the monitor down in between. But as this T300 has quite a chunky servo base here, and then there isn't a huge amount of room between the flappy paddles and the actual wheel rim itself, it's obviously going to be very, very easy as I'm steering to actually knock the monitor whilst I'm actually turning the car. So that's not going to be ideal, and I'm therefore obviously having to put the monitor actually behind the wheelbase itself. When it comes to the height of the monitor, what you should be doing is that basically when you're sat in this position and you're looking straight forward, your eyes are naturally and comfortably basically looking to pretty much the center in terms of height on the screen. If you do that, obviously it's going to minimize the amount of stress and strain going through your neck muscles, and then also it's going to minimize the eye strain. It's probably going to be a lot more natural for you as well. Obviously, some people do have their monitors mounted a little bit higher up, which obviously is then probably going to be a little bit less strain on their neck muscles rather than if they're looking down, but then obviously they're having to lift their eyes up a little bit more, create a little bit more eye strain for yourself there. So try and keep basically the eye line pretty much in the center of the screen here, and that will be the most comfortable for you. Obviously this is only a single screen. Obviously when it comes to triple screens, sort out the middle monitor and then the other two monitors on the side should effectively fall off from that. So the last aspect to talk about with regards to seating position is going to be the position of the pedals. Now, in terms of height, what you want to be doing with the GT style position is, if you were to imagine drawing a horizontal line from the base of your bum, base of your hips, going straight out across towards your pedals, that the bottom of your heel, when it's resting on the pedal plate, is a couple to a few inches below where your bum is actually positioned. What you then obviously want to do is make sure that your pedals are close enough so that when you're pressing the throttle pedal down to the 100% position, that there is a nice bend going through the knee, that it isn't locked out straight or anything like that. You're not having to reach in order to achieve that 100% throttle position, because if you're doing that, you're then obviously exerting an awful lot more effort through your muscles. You're using your muscles a lot more. You're going to fatigue and wear them out a lot quicker. This is obviously going to be the position that you're going to spend the majority of your lap in, is with your foot down 100% on the throttle. So if it's going to be nice and comfortable here, you're not having to kind of exert your muscles or having to stretch in order to reach that, you're then obviously going to be able to drive a lot easier for a much longer period of time. Obviously when it comes to the brake, excuse the position here as I kind of lift my leg up just so you can see, but as you're pushing down through the through your leg, obviously you also want to maintain that same sort of bend going through your knee, especially when it comes to things like load cell pedals. What you don't want to be doing is driving the pedals through your ankles. What you want to be doing is driving it through your legs, not your ankles. Your ankles are the weakest part of your leg And obviously, if you're doing all the motion through the rotation of your ankles, you're going to wear them out much quicker. You're going to strain the muscles down in the lower part of your leg and the tendons there. So you want to be pushing with your entire leg rather than just your ankles yourself. Obviously, you can have a little bit of rotation going through your ankles, which will obviously allow you to maintain that little bit of throttle control kind of when you're picking up the throttle coming off out of corners. But as you're going down to 100%, you should be activating basically your entire leg and pushing through that rather than just your ankles. Likewise, obviously with the brake, especially when you've got a load cell pedal, the last thing you want to be doing is trying to push down on a load cell pedal by pushing your ankle down. That's going to absolutely kill your calves and kill the tendons down in and around the ankle. So look after your body with the entire position that you've got. What you can do is obviously adjust potentially the angle of tilt of the pedals. I can do so through the actual pedal tray itself, or the pedal plate that the pedal tray is actually mounted onto. But then also with these Fanatec V3 pedals, I can also actually adjust the angle of the pedal faces themselves and how much they extend out from the pedals. So I've got the little block in behind them, and I've then also basically position the pedals so they're not quite vertical, but they are close to, so that when I'm kind of resting here in this position, that I'm not getting any real strain going through the leg, and that when I'm pushing down, I'm maintaining nice solid contact through the ball of my foot all the way on the pedal throughout that entire range of motion. If you have your pedals up a little bit too vertically, then obviously you're pulling your toes up towards your knee, and that's obviously going to put a lot more strain down through your lower leg and kind of activating the muscles along the front of your shins there. So avoid doing that, because that's going to obviously cause a lot of strain and stress. So getting that throttle position is going to be key in terms of maintaining throttle control. Likewise with the brake and also the clutch, all pedals should be relatively easy to reach. You're not having to push or exert your legs too much in order to activate that. And obviously, as I mentioned earlier, the cushion here on the base of the seat is going to be crucial for this as well, making sure that you can actually push down on your leg and activate the pedal into the fully 100% activated state without actually having to push through the cushion as well. So looking after your body with the GT style seating position is going to be the main thing. Obviously with that, as I've been mentioning, it's going to create a lot less muscle strain, a lot less muscle fatigue, and it's going to allow you to concentrate a lot more, because your body's not going to be as physically worn out, and you're therefore going to maintain a much higher concentration level throughout your entire driving stint. Obviously, if you start to become physically exhausted, your concentration levels are going to start dropping. You're going to start making mistakes. It's obviously going to cost you lap time, and yeah, it could then ultimately affect your race. So getting this key driving position is going to be absolutely vital, but hopefully those various different pointers are going to help you out there. If you did, then please consider leaving the video with a like, and also consider subscribing to the channel. If you hit that bell notification, then you'll be notified whenever I go live with a new video or with a live stream. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching. Until the next time, have fun, stay safe, and take care.